All right, what's going on YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Good to be back. A lot of big fights coming up this month, April, May, and June. So be on the lookout for more breakdowns on the way. All right, we're gonna just catch up on all these breakdowns this next week. Just all breakdowns. It's gonna be mostly breakdowns. Little bit of politics, just breakdowns because there's a lot of fights coming up, and I can't wait to just drop these videos. All right. So we're gonna start out with Gennady Golovkin and Ryota Murata, which is gonna be next week, April 9th, Saturday, April 9th on DAZN. I should be able to cover the fight live. I think we have a couple of more fights, including a Ryan Garcia return, which you guys should expect a breakdown from me pretty soon, within the next couple of days. All right. So this fight here, this fight is this is going to be a unification match between Golovkin and Murata. But both of these guys have been very inactive over the past year or so. All right, Golovkin hasn't fought since December of 2020 against Ryota Murata after another year layoff. Okay, against after he fought Derevyanchenko, it took another year for him to have a Ryota Murata fight, which was pretty much a tune-up. All right, and we haven't seen Murata fight in over 2 years. All right, 2 Decembers ago, since 2019. So it's been a real long time for both of these fighters, especially Murata. He's extremely inactive at this point. But this fight is going to be in Japan, which is expected. You know, I've always said over the last few years when it comes to these middleweights, I'm surprised they didn't jump on this Japanese bag back then. You know, that includes Jamal Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, or whoever else was top guys at the middleweight division, because Murata is a big name out there, and it's a lot of money out there. People will pay to see him. All right, so people will definitely be in that arena that night of the fight. But yeah, Gennady Golovkin is going to be turning 40 this week. He's going to be turning 40 the day before the fight. All right, so we're really, I mean, at least for me, I'm looking to see how much he has left in the tank. You know, I know he's supposed to be fighting Canelo for a third time later this year. You know, if Canelo can get through Dimitri Bivol, he's supposed to be fighting Gennady Golovkin. And this is pretty much, in my opinion, Murata, even though he's a good fighter, I don't think he's the most dangerous fighter at middleweight as far as the champions or the top dogs in the division. I do believe that, and this is not an easy fight, but as compared to the other options that were out there at some point, like Charlo, like Andrade, like Janibek, like even Jaime Munguia, you know, I do believe that these guys pose more of a threat to Triple G at this stage of his career than Murata does. All right, Murata's tough. He's a fun fighter to watch. We like to say, oh, he's a fun fighter because he brings a good fight. You know, he comes forward. He's a pressure fighter. He can bang. You know, he has a good chin. He has good power. But as far as skills, I think he's on the lower end of that. Even a guy like Jaime Munguia, another guy that we like to say is a fun fighter to watch. I even think Jaime Munguia has more skills than Murata does. But I'll get more into the breakdown in a moment. But this fight is really to see what Triple G has left. I think at this stage, even though I think the second fight between him and Canelo could have gone either way, I do believe that Triple G definitely won the first fight. These fights are years past, and I think that was the current, you know, that was the best at that time that Triple G can give us at those last two fights. You know, at this stage, him being 40 years old, the punch output is definitely lower. You know, when I see him fight guys like Steve Rose, guys like Ryota Murata, I seen him struggle bad against Derevyanchenko. Not to take anything away from Derevyanchenko, because he can box really well. You know, he can do what he does. He does what he does well. He's a real challenge. I just don't think Triple G is the same. You know, I remember I've been watching him and covering his fights since as long as I've had a channel. You know, big fan of Triple G. I know what he's capable of. And at this stage of his career, he's not the Triple G that he once was a few years ago, at least a few years ago. All right, the Triple G that we saw against Canelo in those fights, against David Lemieux in that fight, he's past that. Okay, he's still very good, and I still believe that he's going to win this fight without too much of a problem. But because of his age, because of his inactivity, he's not as busy as he once was. I remember at one point when him and Kovalev was fighting at HBO, and these guys were undefeated at that time. These guys was having 4 fights a year, and their fights were all getting covered on HBO. They used to be very, very active. Oh, excuse me. We're not really getting that from them at this stage. All right. So, look, especially because of COVID and stuff, 2020, 2021, a lot of fighters weren't really active. All right. Most fighters weren't, but Canelo was. But yeah. All right. So let's talk about this fight. Since the Canelo loss, whether you thought he lost or not, Triple G had a few fights. I named them: Steve Rose, Derenchenko, who else did he fight? He fought Sarameta, his last fight. I went to go back, and I was doing some film study the other day. And, I really was focused on the Derenchenko fight because I felt like if anybody's going to, if I can compare the 3 of those guys to Ryota Murata, I would go with Derenchenko just because Derenchenko is more of a pressure fighter. It's just that he's a very technical pressure fighter, a very smart pressure fighter. He has a defensive awareness. He has great legs, good speed, good punch output, great punch selection, good counter punching ability. He's very balanced as a fighter, When I'm comparing him and I'm comparing Ryota Murata, there's a big gap in skill set, all right? Just boxing IQ is just completely different levels. Ryota Murata doesn't really move his head. He doesn't really change levels. He's flat-footed. He comes straight forward. He's not even really that good at cutting off the ring, and this is probably the reason why he had losses against Indom and Rob Brandt in those first fights. It took the rematch for him to destroy them, but he doesn't have quick feet, and these guys, because of his pressure, these guys were forced to move. The only chance that I'm really giving Murata in this fight is if Triple G really shows his age in this fight. And if Murata can find a way to back Triple G up and take the punishment that he's going to have to take. Because remember, he is not Derenchenko. Derenchenko, when he comes forward and he backed Triple G up and when he attacked the body, this is a guy that was able to duck under those hooks of Triple G and shift his head from those and slip those jabs that Triple G was throwing and countering to the body. He was able to get low and change the direction and pivot around Triple G, who's also very flat-footed. He was able to do these things and go to the body. Murata is not that kind of guy. He's gonna pressure you, but he's there to get hit. Doesn't have much use of a jab neither. All power. He tries to smother you. He's trying to get into your space. He's taller than Triple G, but he has shorter arms. So he needs to get close to Triple G. Triple G can work from the outside. I basically think that this fight is tailor-made for Triple G because of his jab, which is one of the best jabs in boxing and still is. He may not be as active with it as he wants because the punch the punch output is lower because he's older. All right. But stylistically, Triple G, in my opinion, has every single advantage going into this fight. Plus, he's very durable. He's taken the biggest punches from the biggest hitters in the sport. He's taken big punches from Daniel Jacobs, Canelo Alvarez, David Lemieux, big punches. He's fought some really big punches throughout his career. All right. If Triple G is able to, this fight is really all about how good is Triple G at this age, in this stage of his career, and who's going to be the ring general. If Murata can find a way to pressure Triple G, work Triple G's body, and force Triple G to step backwards and fight on his back foot, then he may have a slim chance, being that Triple G is 40 years old. That's the only chance he has. You know, I mean, he definitely has the power. He can definitely bang, and he definitely can take a hit. But those guys that he's fought are nowhere near the level as Triple G is. Even at this stage, Triple G can still crack. You know? So when I say that Murata is durable, I'm basing it on the people he's fought that are not punchers. He hasn't fought no real puncher. He hasn't fought Jamal Charlo. He hasn't fought Demetrius Andrade. He hasn't fought Triple G. He didn't fight Canelo Alvarez. He hasn't fought Jaime Munguia or none of these guys that I've named over the years that these guys have fought. All these guys have fought. Some of them have, most of them, the majority of them fought punchers. Murata has not fought a puncher. He's not really tested. And he's lost to the two guys that he went back, won the rematches, but he still lost those first fights. And those guys are not elite level fighters at 160. They're just not. You know, Ndam was always chinny. You know, he's always struggled. He's always been knocked down multiple. I've seen him get knocked down like 6 times in one fight before. You know what I'm saying? This was years back. So I think Murata has a chance based on Triple G's age. I think he has a chance if he can get and connect to Triple G's body. But he has to give up so much to give punishment to Triple G. You know? He has to sacrifice a lot. That's what I'm trying to say. And I don't know if he can take that damage. You know, you get hit with a real good hook, which he will. Mentally, are you going to want to continue pressuring, marching forward? And I don't think he's going to be able to. And once Triple G has him backing up, because he's not a guy that is the type that's going to fall back, adjust, and start setting traps, you already lost the fight. Once Triple G is marching towards you, you already lost the fight. You know, guys like Canelo, guys like Daniel Jacobs, they can make that adjustment and they can fight on the back foot. They could be relaxed in the corner, waiting to set traps and counter. Murata is not that kind of fighter. He's a guy that needs to be coming forward. He needs to be on the inside, making it a rough, really physical, scrappy type of fight. And I don't think Triple G is going to really allow that unless he's past it. I mean, past it to a point where he just can't cut it. You know? I'm expecting Triple G to win by stoppage. I think it's going to be fun. But I think Triple G is going to get it done, but not so soon. I think Murata's going to hold out for a while. I'm thinking, you know what I'm thinking, how this fight is going to play out? I'm thinking Triple G versus Martin Murray. That's what I'm thinking. Because at that time, that was a good fight because Martin Murray had never been stopped. He was a tough fighter. People felt that he beat Sergio Martinez. He definitely got robbed in that fight. But Martin Murray took the punishment for a long time. You know, so if this does go the distance, it could possibly go the distance because, Murata is tough. But I think that Triple G is going to get it done later in the later rounds of the fight. I think Martin Murray lasted to like the 11th round. And I think at that point, that was the longest anyone had went against Triple G. So in my mind, I'm seeing the fight go like that because I think there's a lot of similarities there between Martin Murray and Murata. I think even Martin Murray has got a better skill. He's more technically sound. But that's the way I see the fight going. I see Triple G winning this. I don't think he can meet Canelo at this point. But you know, they already signed for the fight, you know, especially if Canelo is to beat Bivol. All right. So yeah, that's my video. That's my thoughts on this fight. It should be a fun fight though to watch, you know, because Murata is gonna bang, but I think Triple G is just too skilled, too powerful. All right, and I think he's gonna be in control early. All right. All right, so I'm out of here. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.